Correct. So today what we are going to do is, first, obviously, every shape cannot be made to learned by every candidate. There may be some shapes which are not known, but here we have to understand that when we are going to talk with such kind of problems where your 2D composition involves some organic shapes, okay, the
Yes,
most basic ones we have to always be understanding. So today our purpose is for your 2D compositions which are theme based on some organic shapes.
okay.
Okay. Now, what are organic shapes? Do we know that?
Organic shapes, ma'am.
Yes. What are organic shapes? Like in our previous session, we have discussed pure
Yes,
geometric ones, and organic. So, what are the organic shapes?
ma'am. Those are normal shapes, ma'am, like leaf,
Or
bowl.
any other? Like if I say that shape of a sun, so do we post it into the category of being organic, or
No,
it's just a circle?
it's just a circle.
Circle. So that means that is something based on a pure geometric shape that is definable, fine. But when I am asking that something which is relatively identified only by its name and shape organically, if I am saying a people leaf, it will ideally always mean a people leaf only, and which is having that pointed, thin strip kind of a structure, quite elongated, and then you have your leaf about this way. Now, can you remember?
Yes,
Right. So, similarly, suppose this question in place of people leaf asks you to make something with a banana leaf. Do we know what is a banana leaf?
yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So there you will be able to make a 2D composition. That is what you say, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, by and large, when we start to make things with leaf or say other shapes, let me name a few, maybe say water drops, okay, or maybe a profile of a kite. Now, kite has a particular geometry, right?
Yes,
And there you start bringing up some shapes. So it's like not always relative to a rhombus or a tilted square or a proper rectangle, but somewhere the moment we say kite, we know what shape has to be utilized for the composition, right?
ma'am.
Okay. Now we will understand it step by step. Point number one, when we are making a 2D composition, normally we are restricting ourselves to a particular shape, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means we ordinarily have some shape with us into which we are going to make the content, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ordinarily, what is the shape? Like
Where?
normally we make it in a square,
Where?
right?
Yes,
Okay. Any other possibility? Suppose you get a rectangle or a roundish shape. Roundish is normally not possible, but certainly the given space could be allotted either as a square or it could be a rectangle, right?
yes.
Let us start to work with a square. Okay.
Okay.
Now, before I start with putting up options, if I ask you to verbally explain, while now you know what is the people shape of leaf, how would you slightly place the leaf and make it in a composition way? A single leaf or two leaves, or what would you entangle to do within the space? How would you work it up in the space? What comes first to your mind?
By using two, three leaves, ma'am. First,
By,
I'll start from the corners.
come again?
You
By
with
using two, three.
two, three leaves.
Yes. What did you say after that?
First, I would you draw that leaf at the corner.
Maybe say, should I pick up a left corner?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would you like to draw, say, it may be the option this way, it may not be the option this way.
Yes,
Maybe you may differently use an orientation or whatever the case may be. Now what next would you be trying to do? Suppose one has been made, and what next would you believe to do? We are doing it at random. We are not going through a thought process right now, and we're just starting to make something. So, how would you process further?
Ma'am, at the side of that leaf, I will draw another
You will draw another leaf, maybe. Okay. Now, will we try to make it separately, or would you like for a overlap or something of that sort?
separate.
Separate. So eventually, within that space, you would actually, I would say, go for an arrangement of leaves, and you would try to place as many as possible and then conclude with the composition. That is what is the normal verdict.
Yes,
We have to understand here what we are trying to do is basically not a composition. We are actually trying to arrange the given shape. Okay.
yes,
This is the difference. We should actually aim to compose rather than arranging the shape like maybe a biological diagram, because we are not here to fit in and explain the content of a leaf. Got it?
yes.
That means what are the do's and don'ts? What you should do is try to compose and not to arrange the given shape within a given space.
Okay.
Got it? With the shape, I actually mean whatever is the element here. It may be a banana leaf, it may be a people leaf, it may be a drop shape, whatever has been given as a matter of fact to be composed. Okay?
Yes,
Now, let us say we will start with our option one. Okay?
yes.
When I say option one, do we materialize it by the way of arrangement? Is it?
Sorry, ma'am.
Do we try to compose in manner of arrangement, or by option do we talk of colors, or by option do we talk of both? What could be possible? Like how many ways I can do it? Any idea? How many ways I can do it? What are the possibilities and options to do within the composition? One way is we tried to place one leaf, maybe in the remaining space another, and at the most you may have a third one here partly, right?
Yes, ma'am. And another
Okay.
one we can
Let us just
overlap.
stop. You may overlap that way. I'm unable to hear you at this moment.
Sorry, ma'am.
I could not hear after the overlap. What did you say after the overlap?
No, ma'am. I just said that we can overlap. That's it.
Okay, okay. Now let us just start it. Still, maybe not thought of quite a lot of things, but let me just start with making something and say, suppose I also start from the left corner and I take that thin, slender kind of projection of the leaf and I make it this way. Will I be able to work up that this is a people leaf?
Yes, ma'am.
Why? Because my people leaf has a unique feature of this pointed, elongated, thin finnacle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, as a layman, if I will see from this, I will realize that lot of space I have already consumed with only single leaf, that too not fully drawn, right?
Yes,
Now, what would you try to do? Suppose I've given you this as a composition and I ask you that Arjun continue from here to complete it. What would you prefer to do? How would you proceed for the remaining part of it? Any suggestion? How would you proceed for the remaining part of it? If I say this is what I've given you and now you have to complete this composition to obviously make it look attractive, how would you proceed?
ma'am. I don't have any idea.
Anything? Suppose this is the question given in the exam, what would you do? Part of this is given. You
I will add some more leaves.
How? That is what I'm saying. How? This is expected that the question says do it with people leave. What would you do? You have to elaborate. Where will you process? Will you process in the remaining space?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that means you would try to work something here and something here. That is how it gets worked.
Or else I will try overlapping, ma'am, the leaf.
That is the point. That means, can I just overlap above it and now make, but while doing so, did I use the same color?
No, no.
What did I do?
Change the color.
I changed the color. Now, while I changed the color, how do you believe I would process? If I am doing it in a coloring medium, how would I process this?
Ma'am, we will leave the space, ma'am, that
Hmm. Yes.
the part which both are in contact.
So you would like to leave the part which is overlapping and the rest you may color. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us discuss. I will, for your convenience, number all the spaces. Okay.
Or else I would color the color of the first leaf, ma'am, in
Okay.
that overlapping part.
So that means the overlap will actually not be playing any function, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, suppose I put this part as number one, which, if you can notice, there is a gap in this area, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it is my choice. Let I float this color here, but still, for easy recognition, I put this as two. This will travel up till here, this part, right?
Yes,
Then I have the third space. I number this as fourth. This is as five, six. That's the seventh, and that's the eighth space, right? So in all eight spaces, and one and two may share a common color.
okay.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what are the possibilities? You say that you may take in the color of 4, 5, 6, and 7 as same, and then what about 8?
8 I will take different color.
Different, and you will actually follow the same color in 6 and 7. Is
Ma'am,
it?
I will color different color, ma'am, in 8.
Right. But what about 6 and 7? What will you color in 6 and 7? The same as 4 and 5?
The same as 8, ma'am.
The same as 8. So this time we mean that we will not know that there is something underlying. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
I will say that the one which you actually gave on the first strike was a tremendous suggestion. Leaving 6 and 7 maybe as white or putting rather another color. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now pick up your color pencils and you are going to make this and color this the same way as is your previous submission done, to the beautiful intensity of proper color without any strokes. Okay.
Okay.
Now let us see the possibility of options. Okay.
Okay.
Suppose, say, in 4 and 5, because they are
Ma'am,
also, yes,
this is my homework, ma'am.
right now, you're doing it right away. I'll give you time. You're doing it right away and you're going to send it.
Okay.
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 Now, to this, that means to 4 and to 5, of course, there is again a separation with lines. So there has to be a bit of change in the coloring medium of intensity. Okay.
Ma'am, then I will use dark green and in 4,
Huh.
light green with 5.
Fine. So you would be presenting a dark green in 4 and light green towards 5. This means that the light is going to be somewhere coming from this part. That is why fifth is lighter and fourth is darker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us say that you are doing the light green here and maybe the dark green here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us leave sixth and seventh blank, but then there is a line which is going to be worked up, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So before we decide on this line, do we believe that in 8 you will follow with the yellow color?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe somewhat dried up leaves, so we may follow this yellow color. And managing the same notation, you have to understand, since 5 you have a light green, that means there is more of light source. So the yellow which you are going to handle in this part, above this finacle, you have to do a bit of, if pure yellow, you will go a bit darker in it, or if you're doing a lighter yellow there, then you'll have to come up with a pure yellow in it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so that
Yes.
has not to come as a separate line, it has to slowly come in shading.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
now what happens to 2? What will you prefer to color in 2?
Ma'am, 1 and 2 we should use same color, ma'am.
You may use, that's a choice, because we have deliberately got a gap here. So what about 1 and 2 you would prefer to use?
Ma'am, I will prefer orange in the case of 1, ma'am, and
Hmm.
I will use brown in the case of 2, ma'am.
Here we'll try a change. Okay, let
Yes.
us work on our concept of, we have already, if you notice, worked up in 3 colors. Green we are intensifying in light and dark, and yellow a bit timidly, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So let us decide with a gray in 1 and 2. The same rule, your gray should be a bit lighter here, and in 2 it should slightly be darker, going dark towards this side.
Ma'am, I didn't have gray color.
Gray is very simple to make. Do you have a sandpaper?
No, ma'am.
I think I told that in the first class. You should be having a sandpaper. Anyways, if you still don't have it, do you have a 4B or a 8B pencil?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So pick up that with a blunt edge, with a very light pressure, just put in a smudging here. Okay. Or maybe you can scratch the fine dust with a cutter and just dot it here and smudge it with cotton, whichever
Okay.
is comfortable to you. But then you can easily start with a 2B pencil and then going 4B and then going 6B here. So you get those darker tone from light to dark, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear up till that part?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
happens in 3?
3, ma'am. Same, ma'am. The darker one.
The darker one, or rather till here, you can now intensify only in the third number patch, use of charcoal pencil.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay,
blue
because
one, ma'am.
uh, this part you have to work with black charcoal.
Yes, ma'am. Blue color, ma'am. Pencil marked with blue.
No, I am talking of the third segment, which I am filling right now with this entire red.
Yes, ma'am. The charcoal pencil, ma'am. I'm talking about the
So
charcoal
charcoal
pencil.
is black, not
Ma'am,
blue.
it
I
is
would,
marked, no, ma'am. Red, yellow, blue.
the blue one, the darkest one,
Okay, ma'am.
right? So you're not using the red and yellow, you are doing it with the blue one, but to the intensity of black.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay?
Ma'am, outline, ma'am, for these leaves.
No, we are not working a black outline for this, except the dark green which you're going to work up here, that same dark green pencil to mark a pointed outline till here, and the light green to mark an outline here.
Okay.
Got it? What
Yes.
about the central line?
Central line.
Central line, we will prefer a thin, slim, dark green line to go and match till here.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
The best part is that you will be working this up in about 20 minutes, maximum 22 minutes, and you have to do it and send it to us.
Okay.
Okay? Right?
Okay.
Now, since what I can allow you is that to consume less time here and we complete on the identification of beautiful buildings, what you can parallelly do is just draw this as it is if you wish. Take
Okay.
a snap and share it with me immediately. If that is all true, we will come up with our segment of identification of buildings.
Okay.
Okay. And once we are doing that, we complete it, finish it up, then you can submit it at the end of the class.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll give you about 2 minutes here. You can just sketch it up the way it is and immediately send it to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Ma'am, size 12 into 12.
You have to take up a 12 centimeter by 12 centimeter size.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
In the meanwhile, while you are continuing to make, you have to simultaneously keep telling me few things like, broadly, what are the exams which you are targeting?
Nata and JEE mains paper 2.
NATA and JEE mains both. Okay. Once you are through with the making, just send it to us. Parallelly, today we will take up with some of the major buildings which we have to identify. Prefer your lines are not the dancing ones and you don't break much.
Okay.
Okay, it's not that you have to make a part of line and then continue. Try making the line in single stroke.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
To which place do you belong? Can I know?
Nellore, ma'am. Andhra Pradesh.
Vellore. Okay. Can you name any one building which is quite famous architecturally? Any one building which is quite famous?
In Nellore, ma'am.
Yes.
I don't know.
None of the buildings?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And which place are you residing in, a hostel?
Ma'am, now I am at home, ma'am. I actually I am hostel. My
Okay.
college is hostel.
Okay.
Residential.
Okay. I hope done up till this part.
1 minute.
Okay.
I'm sending you.
Fine. Okay. Now, in the meanwhile, I am putting up with you the next part, and after that, you have to complete as brief the coloring and you have to send it immediately after the class.
Mm.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Let's have the next board now. Okay?
Yes,
Just confirm me if you're able to see.
yes, ma'am.
You're able to see the complete board?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So, what we are going to talk today is the most important ones, or I should say, the ones which is expected that everybody knows, but still, how do we process, and for every building, what is the basic information you are supposed to be knowing? Okay.
Okay.
We'll talk in 5 different categories. The prime ones, the basic and the most important icons of Indian architecture, right? Because at times when you're answering questions in both these exams, may it be NATA or may it be JEE B.Arch, at times the question only implies and asks for that which style of architecture it is. It may be Indian or for that matter Islamic or Greek or Egyptian. So some prime fascias of architecture style should be known to us. Okay.
Okay.
Today we are just talking on the keynote of Indian architecture, and the same way you should be over the due course of time should be able to identify what are the major other styles in and around the country. Because in India also, it's not a mandate that we find all the stuff in Indian architecture. There are others too, right?
Yes.
The next category will be modern marvels. That means something which has been quite futuristic and has come up into modern or ultra modern state. Okay.
Okay.
Other than that, most of the question categories, again in both the exams, that quite commonly comes from the heritage content out of history. I don't say only history. Most of the contents which are tagged with UNESCO or World Heritage Sites, these are the prime ones to be picked up for a general answering of either when you are in NATA, you may be shown an image and you may be asked, okay?
Okay.
And when you are into, say, suppose JEE B.Arch, you may be directly asked for location,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
So, fourth is religious and cultural edifice. Now, what do we mean by religious? Is there something very important? Religious,
Religious, ma'am.
yeah, religious. I mean, when I talk of religious architecture, what is the prime area?
Temples.
Temples. Most of the content, temples, and that too you will commonly find in Indian context. We have the temple factors very broadly related to the north and the southern segment, right?
Yes.
Last is your contemporary and future trends. Okay.
Yes.
Shall we put to the next?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when we start with most basic ones, icons, which is something which is of timeless elegance, that means standing for years. So, we have not to only understand it answering as identify the building, everybody knows this is Taj Mahal, right?
Yes.
What you have to put up question inputs like what is ethically Taj Mahal? What is it? It's a palace, it's a temple, it's a tomb, it's a mausoleum. What is it?
It's a tomb and it's a palace.
It's not a palace. It's just identified as mausoleum. Now, what is a mausoleum? Is there a difference between a mausoleum and a tomb?
I don't know what is it.
Tomb is something which is most commonly the Islamic confront of burying and keeping that intact, topped with a very short kind of a structure above it, and maybe four pillars at the corner and a single dome, right? So
Yes.
this tomb is a miniature, I would say.
Okay.
Things which have grown above that. Now, Taj Mahal, when it stands, definitely the structure and the garden and the ambience is something which is too huge for it to be a tomb only. But ethically, it's a tomb. It's not a palace where you go and reside, but it's something made with a mark of beauty with additional inputs into the building form. That's a mausoleum. So a tomb is actually converted to a aesthetical beauty.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, purposefully, it's the same that you have not only the queen's initially and even the king's body being buried in the same place because he wanted that he should be near her.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which is why it is symbolically a symbol of love and a masterpiece of Mughal architecture.
Yes.
But do we realize that Taj Mahal is not purely only a form of Mughal architecture? Okay. So
Okay.
the question category slightly gets tough when we are answering it into multiple choice of other category of questions. Statements like putting true or false to Taj Mahal is an embankment of these styles of architecture. Then the answer would be Mughal, which is precisely commonly known as Islamic, Persian, Ottoman, Turkish, and Indian. There are glimpses of different styles of architecture, and the reason being that the workmanship or the skill labor working into it has been working with different styles.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, another added input to it, you should be knowing that it's now a World Heritage Site.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
I hope we know what is the location of Taj Mahal.
ma'am. Agra, ma'am.
Perfect. Fine. Next to the category, now I am talking in religious content, but this also stands towards the modern marvels because it's not only the traditional and historical way of presenting a temple. Can you identify it? It's written at the top Lotus Temple.
Where, ma'am? Ma'am, which slide, ma'am?
On the next slide, you're on the third slide.
Ma'am, I can see only first one.
You're not able to see the next one?
No, ma'am. Yes,
Now,
yes, ma'am.
you're able to see the third one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we are talking of Lotus Temple, which is ethically a temple coming into the category of religious, but it stands to the chance of modern marvels. What is the portrayal then? You are talking of modern marvels along with religious cultural edifice. That means two categories when we are talking of Lotus Temple, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The given picture explains which view of Lotus Temple. Can you tell me?
Top view, ma'am.
Top view. Perfectly fine. Who is the architect?
I don't.
Read it. That's
Uh,
the name.
Faribosh Shaba.
Saba.
Saba.
Okay.
Okay.
The symbolic representation of Lotus Temple is what? Purity and peace.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
And what is the structural innovation?
Ma'am, what do you mean by it, ma'am? Structure.
Structural innovation mean is it seemingly the same kind of typical temples which we see with huge columns, pillars, and other things? No. We are seeing a shell like structure and which has been beautifully done only by use of concrete and white marble.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it? Now we have to understand when I highlight a material, this is the way you have to be commonly reading most of the building content when you are into a general reading. For every building which you at least read for even 5 minutes, you should be knowing few answers always. Who is the architect? What is the location? What is the prime material? We cannot list all of it, but what is the core content of the material? Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Do we know the location?
Location. No, ma'am. I don't know, ma'am. But city,
Delhi.
Delhi. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
New Delhi is the location. Got
Yes,
it?
ma'am. I know. Yes.
Perfect. Next in the queue is again Golden Temple. Now, this comes to the category of purely religious building. There is no aspect of something which is going to be a modern state of style of architecture or portraying a very indifferent structure. A complete theory for a religious place, of course, worked differently that it is being surrounded by a artificially formed lake. Okay.
Okay.
What is the location?
Amritsar.
Amritsar. What kind of styles does it portray? Does it portray only Indian architecture? No. I am specially
Hindu
highlighting,
and Islamic style.
yes, both. So you will realize while you are going through the era of the religious or the heritage upfront, most of the buildings they are always a aspect of multiple styles of architecture, and to each building we should be knowing that what styles of architecture are they portraying.
Okay.
Okay. Primarily, it does belong to the Hindu community towards the Sikh segment. That is fine. Basic identification is the holiest site in Sikhism. That is also true. The formation is completely in the middle of a water body, which is artificially done. But the upfront of style of architecture is both Hindu and Islamic, and this is a common trait you will see in most of the religious spells of historical buildings.
Okay.
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 Again, we come back to Victoria Memorial. Heard of this?
No.
Other word given to this is regal grandeur. This is located in Kolkata.
Okay.
Okay. Now you have to find out for me what is Victoria Memorial. Is it a museum? Is it a hospital? Is it a station? Is it a palace? What is it?
It's a memory.
You have to find it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Though partly it's answered for you, it's a colonial legacy and it's basically being made in the memory of Queen Victoria. That is suggested by the name, right? But
Yes.
what category to of building to this belonging is, you have to find me that.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, this was initially harnessing what it was actually taking care for the architectural building power. What do you say is that in history, normally, as rich you are in architectural presence, as rich you are in your dominance over the society,
Okay.
right? But now these buildings are standing as, can you identify any other building in India which is actually a old form of British ruled architecture and now that stands as a railway station?
Railway station. No,
Yes. Any other building you remember? It is one of the famous buildings in one of the metropolitans.
no, no,
Do you know the name of Bombay's railway, or I should say Mumbai's railway station?
no, ma'am.
That is also by the same name, ending with a different name. It's Victoria Terminus,
Okay. Ma'am, it's
now
a
known
museum,
as,
ma'am.
come
This
again?
this one.
No, this is Victoria Memorial in Kolkata.
Yes, ma'am. That's a museum.
Fine, you have to search it, you have to send it with detail. What all did you find? Not with a parallel notation on internet. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we were answering for Victoria Terminus.
Yes, ma'am.
Currently, it is known by some other name.
What is it?
CST, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus.
Okay.
Okay, now again you have to find me and don't do it right now, parallel to the class. Please give
Okay.
that time after the class.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this particular memorial has a lot of cultural significance, which is why, as I told you, the second name is Regal Grandeur, identified to be what is the category of the building you are going to tell me, which you have right now told me as museum in Calcutta. Or you can also say that it's completely a cultural repository. What does this mean?
Ma'am, cultural.
Repository. What does this word mean?
Don't.
It is basically a museum to portray cultures of different eras and locations. And prime facie is that it basically narrates India when it was under the colonial dominance. That is the prime concern of Victoria Memorial as a museum.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
let's come to the second part, which is talking more on modern marvels basically. Okay.
Ma'am, what do you mean? Modern marvel.
Modern marvel means it was done in the historical area or time era, but it was done quite in a modern format. It does not portray the traditional kind of architecture.
Okay.
Okay. The best example is, or the landmark is, Chandigarh's Capital Complex. It was back during the Britishers in our country, but then the development actually saw completely modernized styling of architecture.
Okay.
Okay, which is why it is also called as modernist masterpiece.
Okay.
You have to remember these parallel names, right? As we did for the above one, Regal Grandeur represents itself for Victoria Memorial. You may not have that segment of multiple matching in JEE B.Arch, but Nata can put you to a multiple matching. Left side, maybe the names are given, and right side, their identified names are given, which are given a special, I should say a title. Okay.
Okay.
So when we are talking of Chandigarh's capital complex, you are also talking of a modernist masterpiece.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Again, here, which is the prime material, we are talking of concrete.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, you are going to also find here, please write the questions, what you have to find during your after time of the class.
Yes.
Is Lotus Temple and Chandigarh's capital complex into the parallel time zone? Well, were they built at the same time or era? Because both of them, they find quite huge use of concrete, which was not a very famous material at that time.
Okay.
Okay. So it's like already mentioned up here, when we are talking of this, we are talking of post independence, just got out from the British zone. But then does Lotus Temple also talk about the same? So you have to get a catch of that timeline, that what was the time in India when concrete was seeping in. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a beautiful example basically of a government administrative building complex and that has huge, magnificent structures with good colors. Most of it plainly done with concrete, and the color which is being finished, that is also of concrete, except the pillars or the huge walls which you can see in the rightmost icon. They are bright blue, yellow, and red, the primary colors.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we are talking of IIM Ahmedabad. Did you notice the name of Chandigarh Capital Complex? Who's the architect?
Um,
You have to. While you're reading, you can see it's already up in the highlight. Who's the architect?
Corbusier. E.
Right.
Corbusier.
And who is the architect here for IIM Ahmedabad?
Uh, Louis Khan.
Yes. Commonly, it's called as Louis Khan. We normally don't pronounce the S.
Okay.
Located Ahmedabad, Gujarat. The categorization is now moving towards the American architects.
Okay.
Okay. It is a masterpiece which is known for its brick brilliance. That means if you notice the building, you will see it's all exposed brick. You don't see that plaster finish or the concrete finish.
Yes.
Got it? So again, coming up to specifically category of NATA questions where you may be having matched the following. The other way is your column A may have the building name and column B may have only the prime material. So Chandigarh Capital Complex matches with concrete. Lotus Temple matches with concrete or maybe marble being mentioned. IIM Ahmedabad matches with brick.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Another segment which is very important about IIM Ahmedabad is that it has a beautiful play of light and shadow. The way naturally the light is being played along with to utilize the sun factor in Ahmedabad, and a beautiful transition of shadow areas which are crafted on the entire green space.
Okay.
Okay. It is also named as the academic sanctuary.
Okay.
Got it? So it's not only for its original targeted academic excellence, which is the teaching upfront, it is also as a piece of architecture, a masterpiece, and called as a academic sanctuary.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Next on the list is complete change, which is towards again the modern context of looking at the buildings. Infosys Pune. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This we are talking is towards the futuristic zone, ultra modern architecture content.
Okay.
Okay. The creator of this is
Moffat.
firm's, yes, that's the firm's name. So it's not marked with a single point presence of an architect's work. It's recognized by the name of the firm who worked for it.
Okay.
Okay. A very good example of an innovative workspace, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Last but not the least, you have to mark the word. It is a beautiful example of sustainable development. Now, when we talk of sustainable development, it by and large means in architecture that from the campus itself, you are able to regenerate quite a lot of things which can be utilized within the building component. It may be solar energy, it may be waste which gets converted to form better resource for the plantation, it may be water recycling. That means there are numerous ways of sustenance of the building from the campus itself.
Okay.
Okay, that means even if it's a small matter of food supplies in the canteen, the production is within the campus itself as a organic park. Got
Okay.
it?
Yes.
Next, you see on the board again a beautiful example of modern architecture, cyber texture eggs dynamic design. Who's the architect?
Um, James Law.
James Law. Perfect. Do we know the location of this building?
Uh, Maharashtra, Mumbai, ma'am.
Mumbai. Very good. What is the prime shape which is signified? The shape of the building is cuboid,
Egg,
but what? Yes,
egg, ma'am.
perfect. And what is the notable point in this building design. It's an intelligent space equipped with advanced systems for energy efficiency. That means the shape has not been given only for the purpose of beauty. The shape utilizes, if you notice, within the cuboid along with the egg shaped placement, there are horizontal terraces with green spaces.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a deliberate way of designing along with energy efficiency as a component of the building,
Okay.
which means I still advance on the third category for match the following in specifically NATA, or maybe a part possibility even in JEE, that when we are talking of Infosys, it may be matched to sustainable development. When you're talking of cybertecture egg, you are talking of either advanced systems, automated systems, or energy efficiency. Okay. When
Okay.
you're talking of IIM Ahmedabad, you're talking of light and shadow to its best utilization or academic sanctuary. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we move to the heritage part of it? What do we mean only by heritage? Where we are not renovating the building to use or to be used as something else, maybe a hotel, nothing. It is just good to keep saving the heritage. The best example is Fatehpur Sikri. And an ideal example of a Islamic style of architecture being worked up with somebody who's of a Hindu base, done by Tuhir Das.
Okay.
Okay. This was actually known as the capital of the Mughal Empire.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What all is located in Fatehpur Sikri? There are three things basically: palaces, halls, and mosques. All of them.
Okay.
Palaces for the purpose of residential use, halls for the purpose of meeting and conference, and mosques for the purpose of praying.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
This is again being identified by UNESCO as a heritage site, which was the previous one which we did as a UNESCO identified out of the above ones which we did, which is still one more which we did as a UNESCO identified World Heritage Site. Yes,
Um,
Taj Mahal.
oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, I think this is something which is known to everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Red Fort.
Right?
Bal.
Hindi name is Lal Killa, English name is Red Fort.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who is the architect?
Architect, ma'am. Ahmad Lahori.
Yes,
Lahab.
Ustad Ahmad Lahori.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who is also credited with what?
Taj Mahal.
Yes. So that means you have him as an architect for both.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This building stands as what? Symbol of
Sovereignty.
sovereignty. Okay.
Okay.
What is its cultural significance?
Cultural significance.
Significance. It always hosts the India's Independence Day celebration.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Should we not be confused that normally the Republic Day celebrations are quite presented and telecasted, but that is not from the Red Fort. Independence Day speech, flag hosting is being done at the Red Fort.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Mysore Palace.
Yes. What is the prime aspect of Mysore Palace?
Ma'am, what is that, ma'am? Mysore Palace Royal Splendor.
Royal splendor, or also called as the Royal Splendor. What is the color identified for
Dragon.
Mysore Palace?
Sorry, ma'am.
What is the color identified for Mysore Palace? What is primarily the color? Like if I say you that identify Mysore Palace out of all the palaces, what is the color?
Um, yeah, different colors.
The fascia has a beautiful, significant red.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have to tell me what is the prime material to achieve that red. Otherwise, not only the color of the fascia material, other than that, this is one of the most beautiful examples of, can you read out the style of architecture?
Indo-Saracenic architecture.
Yes, it is uniquely an example of Indo-Saracenic architecture and which has the most intricate carvings in almost all the curvical forms also. May it be domes, arches, very vibrant stained glass. This is a unique feature used in Mysore Palace.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, we have to also understand when we are talking of vibrant stained glass, this particular is a very important feature of French style of architecture also.
O-
Okay, that is the most important styling of architecture who have been known to use this vibrant stained glass.
Okay.
Okay, the main important venue of Mysore Palace is marked basically for the purpose of the Dashera festival.
Okay.
Okay, so that means Red Fort is basically identified for Independence Day. Mysore Palace is basically for the celebrations of Dashera
That's the
festival,
first.
right?
Yes. Biodiversity Park's green blueprint.
Yes, I think this should be known to you.
No, ma'am.
You have to get that identified with images, and that may not be the only image, like because the same campus may have quite number of other things which can be identified as an important image, right?
Okay.
Which would be your homework today? All the buildings which have been mentioned today, you have to, apart from the shown picture, capture other 3 to 4 angle of images so that you can identify the building from any of the element given in
Okay.
your screen, maybe specifically. JEE.Arch does not imply with a lot of images ever being shown, but of course NATA does put you to picture to identify.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the uniqueness here? What is the unique factor for biodiversity park? What is the unique point? Can you read it out? Which one do you feel is very unique?
Echo Avan. The park aims to be a hub for environmental education and
Hmm.
conservation, highlighting the importance of biodiversity and sustainable living. Innovative ecosystem. With its focus on native flora and fauna, the park will serve as a living laboratory for ecological study and a green lung for the urban landscape.
It's a green lung for the urban landscape. That means one of the important segment in Hyderabad's makeover to be the most green city, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And parallelly, it is a living laboratory. So it's not only a biodiversity park, it is an ongoing process for the researchers, for the living content, which is asking you to apply the ecological study as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
What are we talking about here?
Mumbai's Trans Harbour Link.
Yes, that's the connective corridor, which is now into running.
I'm not getting it.
Not heard of the Mumbai Trans Harbour Link?
No, ma'am.
Too good. Then this is going to be your starting homework for the segment of identification of beautiful architectural important buildings. Okay.
Okay.
Only thing is, we are not talking of a single building here. We are talking of a sea bridge, which is to be the most longest in India.
Okay.
Okay. And you are actually talking of a link between two different economic zones. We are connecting what to what? You are connecting Mumbai with Navi Mumbai.
What is Navi Mumbai?
Navi Mumbai is the new area developed after the old Mumbai being saturated, no further development being possible,
Okay.
right? It's
Yes.
like a satellite town for you. One place, one core city, a sling coming out, and you have a separate entire big city development.
Okay.
Since it's developed later, the Indian name given to it is Navi Mumbai, the
Okay.
new area developed later.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So that takes care of your famous building contents today, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I would be expecting two big homeworks from you. One is going to be the people leaf,
Yes, ma'am.
and other is going to be the presentation part of it. Okay.
Ma'am, please, ma'am. About this building.